Today on the In All Kinds of Weather forecast, a huge commitment for the Florida Gators. Billy Napier and Florida get their five-star commit. Gators get their elite talent. Could this get the ball rolling for the rest of the class? We'll discuss all that and more today on the In All Kinds of Weather forecast. Welcome back to the In All Kinds of Weather forecast. I am your host, Neil Schulman. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at All Kinds Weather. Full list of social handles down below. Please go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and a nice review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening there. We'd appreciate all of that. Huge show today with huge news, and let's just get right into it. Vernell Brown III commits to the Florida Gators, a massive pickup for Billy Napier in his 2025 class. And let's briefly set the stage here. The legacy that is being continued at the University of Florida. About 20 years ago, Florida had a tough-as-nails cornerback named Vernell Brown. Overall, a very nice career for the Florida Gators, but I think pretty clearly best known for the pick six in the Outback Bowl against Iowa in Urban Meyer's first year at Florida. The play made famous, of course, because of his miraculous return from a horrific injury and the call from Mark Jones on that day on the telecast underneath and picked off at the 41-yard line. Brown, Vernell Brown, you talk about comebacks. Don't call it a comeback. Brown, broken leg and all. He's okay. New Year's Day of 2006. So HDTV was actually a pretty new thing. I remember I was watching in my parents' bedroom at age 11. They just gotten a pair of awesome new TVs. The smaller one came first. The bigger one hadn't arrived yet for the living room, so I was watching on the HDTV in their room. And anyway, I was just like 11 years old, just sitting on their bed, bouncing up and down, and then the pick six. And I just remember this amazing feeling coming over me, like, oh, that just feels so good to watch. It just being a Gator feels good right now. It feels like we always say it's great to be a Florida Gator, but in that moment, watching Brown coming off an injury with that pick six, watching him take it all the way home, that just felt so great. And now we fast forward almost 20 years, and it is his son who gives Gator Nation reason to feel good about being a Gator, because Vernell Brown III, consensus 5-star prospect, top 25 player in the country, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. I think he's just outside that top 25 in the On3 industry rankings at number 33. One of the six best receivers in the country, according to both systems. He's a Gator, and that is huge. That is absolutely an enormous pickup for Florida, for Billy Napier, and for future quarterback DJ Lagway. And today, we're going to talk about all the reasons why. First, though, before we get into that, the In All Kinds of Weather forecast is proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants, and they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it's savings for your child's college, investment advice, or even your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating your life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. That is 401k Generation, building stronger futures, one generation at a time. For more information, please contact them at 866-998-5879 or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. So, Vernell Brown III, 5-star athlete. He is a highly intelligent kid to boot, an adjusted GPA of 4.91, also extremely impressive. Because everyone loves nitpicking everything about everything, I will say, in the name of intellectual honesty, he is a little small, 5'10 or 5'11, depending on who you trust. He's about 170 pounds. Certainly could stand to gain some muscle mass, but I mean, that's it. Like that's where the nitpicking and any good faith quip about him ends because he is a ridiculous athlete. The natural gifts are insane. The open field moves, he's a yak machine. That's yards after catch. An absolutely incredible route running ability, just amazing footwork that he has before and after he has the ball in his hands. Just overall a really dangerous playmaker as a slot receiver. Think of Trey Wilson type, but even more naturally athletic. So just a rare type of physical athlete who knows how to make things happen. Granted, it's not at the biggest position of need for the Gators. Wide receivers are great to have, but right now they're a luxury and not a necessity compared to the offensive and defensive linemen and even linebackers, I'd say at this point. So doesn't even matter. I don't even care because position of need, not position of need, I don't care. This is one of those guys that you don't find any reason to rain on the parade of when he commits. This is an immensely talented kid that comes to Florida, can contribute right away, and can give Florida. He's one of those guys that I think is going to be giving Florida 3 great years and then heads off to the NFL. Massive pickup. Here is where I think it's important to essentially restate the thesis of the last show, which we talked about all kinds of different points of recruiting for the Gators. We talked about momentum. We talked about Vernell Brown going to be committing next Sunday. Well, here we are. We have that piece of data now, but essentially we're in the same spot. The move for Florida in the recruiting rankings was decent. I mean, Vernell Brown III committing to Florida had a certainly noticeable impact, moved Florida's class from 68 to 56 in the 247 Sports composite rankings, which, okay, that's something. Given that one commit vaults you up more than 10 spots, it's clearly gotten the attention of everyone who follows recruiting, but still very clearly a long way to go for Florida. But that is something that we already knew because, look, there's a long way to go for everybody, even the top classes right now, like Alabama and Georgia and Oregon. They all still have a long way to go too because they have to hold on to their classes for several more months. Other schools start winning games, they could feel emboldened to start really pushing for some of those schools' commits and basically go shopping in their recruiting classes. I mean, this isn't like, it's not like dating where you see a girl you might want to talk to and then you go, she has a boyfriend. All right, I respect that. Not going to bother, going to leave that be. No, it doesn't work that way in recruiting. You see a prospect you want before he signs on the dotted line, and illegally speaking, teams still do it after. It's called tampering, but discussion for another day. You see a prospect you want, you don't care where he's committed. If you have any reason to believe it would not be a complete and utter waste of time to talk to that prospect, where he's committed isn't really your concern. You go after him. And that goes back to the momentum because ordinarily and historically even, this is the point in the show where I and every other Gator content creator would branch out, look big picture, talk overall recruiting right now. Like, Solomon Thomas remains high on Florida's board, even as he remains committed to FSU. That's a blue chip 5-star offensive lineman committed to the Noles. Can the Gators flip him? All right, now we talk about Hilton Stubbs. Same thing with him first committing to USC, turning the Gators down. The Jacksonville kid going all the way across the country to Southern Cal, then changing his mind and flipping not to Florida, to Miami. Same with Malik Autry and Caleb Falk at Auburn. When is he visiting? What kind of relationships do they have with their position coaches? Do they think they could play right away? What kind of relationships do they have with the head coach? Are they close to the school? Does his mom's aunt's best friend work there? Whatever. We talk about all of that. What were his last public comments about Florida? What's he been retweeting on Twitter and liking on Instagram? And look, those things definitely do matter. They absolutely play a role. Florida, for example, lost DJ Pickett to LSU because Florida fired Corey Raymond and LSU took him. Riley Pettyjohn, who just picked Ohio State, crossed Florida off his list pretty early. Maybe not entirely. There definitely were more things at play there, but certainly in part because Joe Hamilton, who is Florida's ace in the hole recruiting in the state of Texas, left Florida for Texas A&M. So that played a part there. Absolutely, relationships matter, and there are still tea leaves to be read. I'm not discounting that entirely. but they also do not matter, and they will not matter if a program is trending the wrong way. Example, a five-star could love Billy Napier and his possible position coach right now, but if that five-star sees that the whole staff is in jeopardy of being fired because they can't win games, if they have reason to believe that, not just because rival coaches are anti-recruiting Florida and they're planting those thoughts in their brains, if they have real reason to believe that, and there aren't really a whole lot of other talented players who believe in the coaching staff and the program either, nothing else matters. A school essentially really only needs two things to succeed in football. You need a positive perception that's based on reality and evidence and proof of concept and fact, meaning not just blind faith and coaches and propagandists for a program just blowing smoke up your tail. You need real reason to believe that the program is headed in the right direction, and a strong NIL game. And the NIL thing obviously is a separate conversation, equally important, but not really relevant here. That's for another day. But for the perception and the sellability, for lack of a better phrase, the hardest part is to convince the first elite athlete or the first two or three or even four elite athletes to believe in you. Because once you do that, it becomes so much easier for the snowball to pick up more snow, gain more muscle mass, accumulate some more torque, and barrel down that hill with more momentum. And Florida has done that. I mean, they had that four-piece in July, which included a blue-chip receiver in Joshua Moore, consensus four-star, 247 Sports composite four-star. That got the momentum started. That led them to, at least in part, that had, I would say, the momentum there. Had some small piece in the Gators flipping Miles Johnson from Alabama. That's always a big deal. I don't care if it's Saban or DeBoer or Mike Price who runs that program. Alabama is still Alabama. That's still an elite program that you just took a kid away from. Big deal. And now the Gators have a true elite playmaker in Vernell Brown. And again, phenomenal athlete from Florida's, and really from Florida's tree. Like, it's a legacy commit that Florida had, who also happens to be a tremendous athlete. Now, yes, I will say he is far from the most important guy on Florida's board simply because he's a receiver and Florida has bigger needs on the offensive and defensive lines. Plus, the Gators already have multiple other receivers committed. Now, none of them are of the caliber of Vernell Brown. Of course, we're absolutely thrilled to have him. Again, say it for the seventh or eighth time in this show, he's a unique type of physical talent. But the point here is that there are bigger needs out there, and Florida still has two-thirds really of its class left to fill out. The work is far from done for the Gators, but this is the kind of commitment that makes the rest of that work just a little bit easier because the momentum is now on Florida's side. And of course, the Gators are still going to have to win games. We know that. We've been saying that all off season long, and it rings even more true as the Gators pick up more commitments if the Gators want them to stay there. Fail to make a bowl game this year, those losses are going to undo all of this. It's not going to matter if Florida flips Hilton Stubbs and Jacaleb Falk and Solomon Thomas and then, I don't know, grabs three more five-stars we're not even thinking of this next 6 weeks. It won't matter. If Florida loses games, any piece of momentum that this snowball effect has picked up is going to die. But if the Gators, with the position that they're in right now, even just hold serve on the field this fall, don't need a CFP bid, don't need 9-3, even just going 7-5 with this schedule, which is not ideal for sure. Goals are obviously bigger than that, but 2-game improvement from last year, even just do that, and Florida's in position to close strong by selling at least some on-field success to recruits. Hey, you saw the jump we had from year 2 to year 3, 5-7 year 2, 7-5 year 3. We need more guys like you. You want to be a part of something special? You want to be one of the architects of the rebuild of this program? Come on aboard. It's not a bad selling point if you have the wins to back it up. Can the Gators get them? Will they get them? Gonna have to wait and see. But right now, things are absolutely going the right direction at this current point in time because the Gators have gotten that snowball started. And now it's up to the Gators to win games in the fall to close the class out strong. So that's our show today. If you liked it, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That always helps. And please tell your friends that this is the show that keeps it respectful but keeps it real, while ensuring that you all stay up to date on everything Gators related. Speaking of which, the Olympics start right now. Let's go Gators. We have 34 different athletes who are going to be in the Olympics, which is unreal, including Caleb Dressel, who's already got 7 gold medals to his name in the swimming competition. So, everything's school. We do cover football primarily. Baseball is probably second, basketball up there too, as secondary focuses, but we do make sure to keep y'all up to date on major news and happenings of all Gator sports. So until next time, in all kinds of weather, we all stick together for FLORIDA.